I got away. And I've made a living in very dangerous.
An integrated blue society.
Dianne Andrews in black and white. Welcome to Dianne Andrews in black and white, and I'm your host, Dianne Andrews. Thanks for tuning in to us today, whether you're on YouTube or whether you're on television land. I recently was in Houston, Texas after Hurricane Harvey. This summer I was off and I wanted to shine a light on people, places, and things. And what can get any worse than Hurricane Harvey? But out of tragedy comes the courage of great people. Cajun Army is working there, the Cajun Navy worked there, Cajun Navy is rescue, and Cajun Army is repair. I went out to some of the homes with the Cajun Army, and I want to tell you, they do a great job. But one reason I'm giving a shout out today is one thing they said they really needed was mold treatment supplies. They have gutted the houses, but they do not have enough mold treatment. So if anyone is interested in helping out over in Houston, Texas, call the Cajun, look up the Cajun Army, and give them a call. I also said that I was working on people. I wanted to shine a light on people. I have started a series called The Incredibles, and a subset of that are the incredible anchors. As we know, when an anchor or a talk show host or anyone comes on television or on the internet, all you see is someone who looks their best, who talks their best, and who acts their best. Today I have a person who is one of the most incredible people I've ever met. I call this show Courage Under Fire. Her name is Donna Britt. She's the anchor of WAFB in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, the CBS affiliate. When she was in college, she had a professor that sexually molested her. Then later, in 2008, she had a scare with breast cancer, and she did have breast cancer, but she has recovered fully. And today, in July of 2017, she was diagnosed after 9 months of going through what is this with a lot of left leg pain. She was diagnosed with ALS. Some people know it as Lou Gehrig's disease. That is a disease that is fatal. There are two kinds of it, and that's familiar and sporadic. Come back to Dianne Andrews in black and white and meet Donna Britt with ALS, a woman who has courage under fire. Thank you very much, Hibernia Wealth Management in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, for sponsoring this episode of Dianne Andrews in black and white. Thanks for coming back to Dianne Andrews in black and white. Here sitting with me is this courageous woman I just mentioned to you, Donna Britt. Thanks for being with me today here, Donna. I really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure.
You are the first that I'm hosting for my Incredible Anchors show.
Okay.
And I think I've got to wonder, could anybody be more courageous than you are with the three things that I just mentioned: the sexual molestation in college at University of Southern Mississippi, and you transferred to LSU.
That's the reason I transferred to LSU.
Because you're a music ed major, correct? Right. Yeah. And you were the flag team leader at LSU. You were the co-chairman at so it worked out better, didn't it?
Yeah. During the pregame show, I am the one that wrote the flag routine that they still use.
Wow. They still use it?
Yeah.
That's amazing. No wonder they made you captain so quickly. Everything for you, because you're a pianist, you're an oboist. You were, and you can't do that right now with what's going on in your life. Tell me, how are you? Tell me, with this last diagnosis, it took you 9 months to go to various doctors, multiple doctors, to get the diagnosis from Houston Methodist Hospital, right?
Right.
Neurological Institute, I think they call that part of Houston Methodist.
Well, I'm a practical person, and so it really meant a lot to know what it was.
Yeah.
Just the open-endedness of 9 months of searching and not knowing was,
Did they ever think
was killing a reporter.
Yeah,
I mean, you know, because you want answers.
Right. You've been doing this 36 years.
Yeah.
You became an anchor 6 months after joining WAFB, and they made you the morning anchor, and so your life was just right on target, it seems.
Well, I found that I just fell in love with news.
Yeah.
I started working at WAFB because when I graduated with a music ed degree, I was going to go to Northwestern and study with a very good conducting professor, but my dad needed emergency surgery on his eyes, and insurance wouldn't pay for it. See, these days, you slip the case and you slip out the lens and you put in another one.
Yeah.
Well, back then they sutured in the lens.
Oh, wow.
And so it was very risky. But all that money from grad school went to that to save his eyesight.
And
it
he did
actually
save it.
did
Oh,
work.
good. Okay,
yeah,
great.
It actually
Right.
did work. But I thought I would work in TV for a while and then go
Well,
get
you started
my
in
grad
radio,
degree.
and something very good happened to you in radio right here in
Yeah,
Baton Rouge.
yeah.
Who did you meet there?
I met my husband.
That's right.
Yeah.
Mr. Mark Ballard is.
Yeah,
is
Mark was also an LSU student and was working the books of 2 hotels at night, and then he did part-time radio on the weekend. And about the time that I was working at WYNK, we just happened to meet. In fact, we did a commercial where we posed as husband and wife, so that's in the movie
It
of
was
my life.
predestined.
That
Yeah.
will be the foreshadowing,
Yeah.
you know. Oh, what's going to happen later? They'll get married, you know.
Now, did
But
you know him
anyway.
at LSU, or had you ever seen him when you all saw each other at the
No.
radio station? Did you?
No,
familiar?
he was
Wasn't
new
he?
to me, yeah.
And speaking of familiar, you have ALS that is familial. Yours is inherited. It was in your gene pool, although
Right.
it is a genetic mutation for everybody, even the sporadic. But you said an uncle had it, and your grandmother probably had it.
Right.
Tell us about that.
Well, my grandmother died in a fetal position in her 60s. And back then they called it senility.
Right.
You know, she went senile.
Yeah.
And so that's possible that she had ALS. My Uncle John for sure did. In fact, I talked to my cousin, his daughter, last night. And I just wanted to find out what his experience had been. And he died 2.5 years after diagnosis. So that's the thing about ALS. You find out that you have it, and now you find out that it's unpredictable.
Right.
You cannot tell one case from another what's going to happen to you.
As Stephen Hawkins has really outdone the odds for 50-some years.
Yeah, yeah.
Who's a physicist. I think most people have seen even the movie
Right.
about Mr. Hawkins. Catfish Hunter has ALS, who was a great pitcher.
Yeah,
A national-
Steve Gleason.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the Saints
Saints
football
player.
player. And he's young,
Yeah.
and he's not that old at all.
Well, and he is such a champion for
Yeah,
ALS. I'm
yeah.
so proud of him.
Right. As people are of you.
Well, I think that even as a compassionate person, that I knew what Lou Gehrig's was,
Right.
but not enough. I had no idea what the experience would be and what the struggles might be for a person. Like, you know, I showed up to work and they had made a disabled bathroom for me, but because of the muscles that had disappeared, all the rails that they had installed didn't help me go to the bathroom. And so they had to rethink what they did in the
Right.
bathroom so that I could use the bathroom.
And that's a tribute to your station manager, vice president, and general manager, Mr. Lee Meredith, and all your workers there. Because I saw one of your tapes when I was doing my research, and you said, "My friends are here. I love to come to work because these are where my friends are."
Yeah.
And that gives you something to get up for every day. Let's tell the audience a little bit about ALS. It goes in and it destroys the neurons in the brain, right? And then it attacks the muscles. Of course, they lose nutrition. And you have the bulbar form of ALS, or do you have the other form? There are 2 forms, I think.
We're waiting, but I don't have any struggles. Bulbar means your head. It means your mandible, your esophagus, your trachea, your tongue. And people have trouble swallowing. They have trouble keeping fluid out of their lungs.
Okay.
A lot of times at the end, you're suctioning things out of their trachea, trying to keep them alive. But I may have lumbar, which means that I may live longer.
Right.
You know, so
I was reading that the other night, and I
the
think...
fact that I'm still talking
Yeah.
and can elocute, I don't know yet.
But you've done something that's miraculous and sort of new with your voice box over at LSU. Let's just a statement about that.
Yeah.
If
The LSU speech therapy department has a voice bank, and I am going once a week, and for an hour I'm reading phrases that go into the voice bank with the idea that once my voice is gone, that the box that you see Stephen Hawking use that speaks in a robot way will have my voice inside of it. I have not heard the finished product yet. You have to record like 10,000 words.
Right.
And so I'm just at the beginning of this.
And one reason that this will work is because the intellect is never disturbed with ALS. You still
Right.
have the same brain power you had. You have bowel and bladder functions are the same, and your sexual abilities can be the same. So that's something
Okay.
that's good to know, right?
All right,
As
yeah,
a
that may
married
be
person.
TMI. But, okay, but anyway, yeah.
How do they find out which form you have?
It's like sitting and watching a murder mystery because they don't really know.
Okay, as it unfolds.
It's just they watch the symptoms as they come. Now, with Houston Methodist, I'll go in once a quarter, and they will do all of the battery of tests again because they have the baseline from when I saw them initially, and then they'll see how much it's degrading, and they'll see where they think it's going. But there's no way to track ALS.
It's a very, and you know, it's profound because multiple sclerosis and ALS have about the same number of people with the disease, but people seem to know more about MS than they do ALS. People think it's a very rare disease, but when I looked at it, it said 5 out of every 100,000 people over 20 get ALS in the West, and 1.5 more men get it, just a little bit, 0.5 more than a woman. So it's so much research going on. That's really great. You told me they just located the gene that causes ALS, the malformation.
They've been finding genetic news all along, but they were very excited last month when they found one that they feel they can attack now and maybe prevent it.
Right. Wow. And that would be great. And we talked about, I asked you, are you worried about your children? You have a DNA researcher in the family on the East Coast, and you have a son who's only 17 years old a week ago.
He wants to be a doctor or a bioengineer. So they're both science geeks.
Right.
Yeah.
Did they get, what was your husband's major at LSU?
Journalism.
He was journalism also. Okay, and that's why he was at the radio station. But what are your feelings on your children and you being familiar, you not being sporadic? It's in your gene pool, and your husband's mother had MS.
Well, yeah,
that he took care
you
of,
fear
right?
for your children.
Right.
It won't hit them. It generally doesn't hit until your late 50s.
Right.
And so they won't know for most of their life that it's coming. And that's the way it happened with me. Now, because you see where my family tree had it, it may not hit them at all. Okay? Because it did not go directly to father, daughter, father, son, you know, or mother. It skipped a generation. And so it probably will skip my children. I hope. There's no way to predict.
Right.
It's just that I would love for them to knock ALS out for everybody.
Even before you have to worry about that.
Right.
While you and all of us, you know, are still here in our lifetimes.
Right.
We hope that it's a fatal disease. What else can you say? It's terminal. And it causes havoc on your ability to walk, your hands. I think you told me 8 of your fingers are already paralyzed.
Well,
is that correct?
You can move them a little bit. What it is, the paralysis moves slowly. These are weak fingers. And so writing, you have to write between your knuckles. Picking up things, I can't pick up 30 pounds anymore. You know, it's just incredible the number of things that I could do that I can't do anymore because I don't have a grasp. You know, but I can't write. I'm writing. I'm sorry. I'm writing a piece for Louisiana children to sing at Christmas. And writing it down, I couldn't press down hard enough with the pencil that when I copied it to send it to the copyright office, it sort of faded a little bit. It was like, oh no, what if they don't copyright this? But they did. But just being able to apply pressure even sometimes is hard. So my hands, I flop my fingers and I'm still typing. There are lots of typos. I just go back and fix them, you know. You just adjust any way you can.
We're going to take a short break, but everyone can see why I said this is courage under fire. Her attitude is better than most people who are well. So come on back to Dianne Andrews and let's learn more about ALS and this wonderful woman, Miss Donna Britt.
So how are you doing?
Not bad, it's just getting weaker and weaker. You know, I used to be able to put on my own socks.
Order your copies now of Dianne Andrews' latest books, Third Man Out, a suspenseful mystery by Dianne Andrews, and Gumbo for the Heart, 25 stories of faith, hope, and charity, both available now on Amazon.com.
Welcome back to Dianne Andrews in Black and White with this show featuring anchor Donna Britt. Now, Donna, we know, thanks for coming on back as we're talking to Donna here. Donna, we know you're married. I've mentioned, we've talked about your 2 children. How has this affected, first of all, tell me how it's affected you. What has it done to you mentally?
Mentally?
Physically and then physically, but mentally. You have such a great attitude. Is there any time that you just say, I want to cry? Or have you cried?
Yeah, I mean, everybody has crying moments.
Yeah.
Usually it's out of sheer frustration. I am a prayerful person, though. And
everyone in your family is a
when
minister.
When I butt up against something that I can't do, I say, God, am I being stubborn? Should I back off of this, or should I do it? And I'm prayerful in that way. But like housework, I've had to give up having a clean house. I have a husband that works a full-time job. Right. He's driving me to even things like hair appointments,
Yeah.
There's so much stress on him that to want it to stay the way it used to be when I cleaned full-time before I went to work every day is not going to happen. Right. And so, hello, clutter. I'm just not, I'm not able to put it all up anymore.
Right.
And that changes, like washing clothes. I used to do it in one day.
Yeah.
And now it takes all week. I put it in, and then I use a reacher, one of those things, to lift it and put it in the dryer.
It has a hook at the end of it.
It takes like
Yeah.
4 times as long to do household chores. And so you just kind of pick the one that's important, and keeping underwear on your guys is one of those things.
Right.
So you just pick the one that's important and concentrate on that.
You had said to me, every challenge, I just have to meet every challenge and worry about being positive and making sure I can handle every challenge.
Right.
And
Dr. Schroff said, your survival, how
that's in
long you
Houston?
live.
Is that the doctor in
Right,
Houston?
she's my doctor. She said, if you can meet every challenge, you can live for years. But she says you've got to meet every one as it comes up. Mm-hmm. And so it's kind of like being in front of a pitching machine. Mm-hmm. And just saying, all right, out of the park. All right, I got that one. Some of them are curves and you miss.
Right, right.
Some of them are not. But one of those is going to take your life at some point. But you're just hoping that pitch comes much later.
Right. And you're here to live. You're not here
Right.
to concentrate on dying.
Right.
Your daughter is a DNA researcher.
Right.
What did she say about the ALS being in her field? Does she have any inside knowledge of what's going on in the field?
She and her husband email me every new study they find. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's just they are reading voraciously about it because they want to understand it. And they do. They feed all the new information to me.
Have you seen anything that seems really positive? I mean, are there trials that people can get into, or trials of new drugs? I know you don't even take the one drug they have now. You take vitamins. So you're not interested in taking medication or...
I'm interested in a drug that would give me better than a 30% chance.
Is that what the
This
current
new
drug is?
only a 30% success rate, and it's very demanding. It's like 2 straight weeks of 6-hour infusions, and that would mean that I couldn't work for 2 weeks.
Right.
That I'd be in Houston, I wouldn't be here. All of that costs too much for the fact that it may not work for me.
Right.
So I decided not to do that.
And right now you're happy with that decision.
Yeah.
Can you go back and do this infusion at any period in it, or is there a time when if a person has gotten so much worse they can't get this infusion if you change your mind?
I guess I could do it, but by the time I decide to do that, maybe there's a new drug that works better.
Right, which they're working on. I was reading the ALS Association headquarters is in Washington, D.C., and it's so much that they're working on with this diagnosis. And as I said, I was shocked 30,000 people have it here in America and Europe.
Dianne, I want to mention that the MD Society, MDA, also helps ALS patients. Back when Lou Gehrig...
Muscular Dystrophy Association?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, back when Lou Gehrig suffered, the baseball player, suffered the disease and really introduced it to America.
Right.
His widow tried to find a place to raise money for to help sponsor research, and she got the MD Association to agree to sanction research, and she raised, I don't know how much money, but to this day they are very helpful. If you do not have an ALS society in your area, seek out MDA, because they also have all the information, they have the resources, they will help you as well.
And we're going to put the number on, it'll be on the screen for everybody to see the association number if they need to call and get any information, if they think they may have it or someone they know or love may have it, or symptoms as we're talking today, that'll give them a heads up. Now, on October 1st, I want to give a shout out to what you all are doing October 1st, the fundraiser here.
We are raising money for the Louisiana-Mississippi ALS group. And local ALS helps you in so many ways. They have a loan closet for all this expensive equipment that you may need. They loan it to you, and then when you die, you give it back to them. So it's constantly living on and circulating and helping other people. They have support groups where you can get together and find out new ways to twist in your wheelchair and do things, you know, occupational therapy things. It's amazing the kind of information that you didn't even know you need that the local ALS Society can help you have. Now, they have walks, but they seem to be quiet fundraising efforts. They aren't noisy like you know, we get
Alzheimer's or cancer.
Oh, we go nuts when get pink, don't we?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, against breast cancer.
Right.
Well, I would love to see ALS have a higher profile
do
because
you
the work
think there's
is
a
so
reason?
critical.
It is. Do you think there's a I was shocked at the number of people with it.
Yeah.
Do you think there's a reason that it's a quiet walk and you don't raise as much money because there's not enough awareness?
I think the Ice Bucket Challenge raised the awareness through the roof.
Right.
I think the Ice Bucket Challenge really helped.
And I think, Donna, with a high visibility person here in Louisiana, and you see the Louisiana-Mississippi chapters, I guess, work together, that you would be a great help to them in getting visibility out there. And hopefully Dianne Andrews in Black and White helps get it out there, and we'll be on YouTube as well as on television.
So October 1st, Chef John Foltz, who's a very good celebrity Cajun chef and Creole, and oh, the man is just
delicious.
fabulous.
Yes.
Well, he has a reception center where he is having, it's the White Oak Plantation, and from noon to 3 there will be a fabulous buffet dinner with all of his great stuff. And we will have live music by Sarah Collins, an up-and-coming country singer. She's donating her performance. Riverside Limousines is going to be shuttling people from other properties because we're going to have 1,000 people there.
Wow.
And I will be sitting somewhere obvious and will sell selfies for $2 so that we can raise money for ALS with selfies. I hope everyone will come hug my neck and take their picture with me.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And you told, I wasn't aware of it. The mayor, I happened to see her the other night, Mayor of Baton Rouge, Mayor Broom, and she mentioned to me, I told her I was getting ready to interview you because we're going to do something on Hidden Figures with her office. So, and then she said, well, she's going to be there. I think she's going to try her best to be there. Now, I know you mentioned your father and his eye problem. I know you came from a very religious, I've never known anybody with this many ministers in their family. Your father, your two brothers, your mother died when you were 9.
But my stepmother and her husband are missionaries.
So your faith has got to be very, very strong. Did you ever think about going into the ministry?
No.
With all...
I was the pianist for the church.
Yeah.
You know, and so I did a whole lot of hundreds of weddings, hundreds of funerals, you know, playing piano for things like that, and just regular church services.
Did you always want... If you could have gone to Northwestern, your destiny would have been changed because...
Symphony conductor. I wanted very much to do that. I actually minored in violin so that I would know all the bowings really well. And I had learned all of the instruments as part of music education. Right. So I knew all the string instruments.
We see the big, beautiful baby grand back here in the back. So,
but anyway, but the thing about life is, John Lennon said it well, you know, and life is what you're doing while you're making other plans.
Right.
Well, I think that plan B is the better plan for me. I had my plan A, musician, be at a university conducting orchestras or something like that, because the absolute pitch, it seemed like God was telling me to do it, because I have so many abilities in that way that I can analyze the guy in the third row that's not playing in tune, But when news came walking through my door, news recruited me from radio.
Right.
The news director heard me on radio.
WAFB.
But it was like God was grabbing me by the lapels.
Right.
And, for those that aren't religious, just think carpe diem.
Yeah.
You've got to seize an opportunity when it's there. And what I found, working part-time for just 6 months to see if I liked it, was that it plugged into more parts of me. I am such a people person. I love telling stories. I love hearing stories. And here was a way to just constantly meet new people, constantly learn new things. A curious mind is a wonderful thing to have.
Yes.
And just learning about new things constantly. And I like the competition of writing it quickly and getting it as succinct as possible, because you got to make it stick when you say it just one time. you know?
Right.
And so it became, you have to be the ultimate teacher in news.
Right.
And I already knew that I was a good teacher, and so it was just a matter of getting in there, getting my feet wet, getting all the way up to my ears wet, and just really submerging myself in.
As I close this show, we see why I call Miss Donna Britt a person with courage under fire. One of my favorite sayings is, between black and white, there are always shades of gray. I have written a book. I've written 2 books. One is Gumbo for the Heart, with 25 inspirational people from all around the country and around the world with different points of view of disadvantages that they have changed and turned into advantages. And she is one of those. One person that really comes to mind to me is Miss Judy Weathersby, who is now passed on. She was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer out of New Orleans. She was my hairdresser. And she fought that for 10 years. She found all ways and all kinds of procedures, natural, spiritual, and scientific medicines to keep her life. And she had a full life. And she had a wonderful life. She never succumbed mentally or physically until the 10th year. And that's what I leave with all of you all. And that's what this show is about. Courage under fire. Take whatever you think catastrophe is and turn it into a masterpiece of life. Come on back to Dianne Andrews. We're going to do a show with Miss Brett at WAFB with her vice president and her anchor. We'll see you next week on Dianne Andrews in Black and White.